So, hello everybody and welcome again to the Power Shift podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Bubbers-Jones. And as you know, we love talking about medical history, geographical history. And as you know, I work at Hale House in Portland Street, which is part of the Harley Street Health District. So, my next step is always like speaking to who is responsible for developing this district, especially that it's been around for hundreds of years and has a rich history, especially when it comes to healthcare and medicine. So who other to invite Mark Kildea, who is the Chief Executive of the Harley Street Health District. So welcome, and I'm so glad we finally managed to do this.
Thank you, Dr. Bubbers. We've been trying to do this for some time, so I hope I don't disappoint you and we can have a good session today, but it's great to finally get on the sofa with you, so to speak.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, let's get started, right? So, as you know, I'm very interested in people and I'm interested in your background of how you actually came to get involved in this really exciting project. And yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit more about how you managed to get involved in the Harley Street Health District?
Well,
because
okay,
I understand you're someone that you've got a background in property management and finance, but then how has that translated to healthcare, property development, and your vision for the future for the district?
Well, I mean, look, you're right. I mean, I've been around a long time, so I don't want to go over all of my background in history. But I've always worked in real estate in some way, shape or form for most of my career. And from the financial perspective, so some people who work in real estate are surveyors, that's their professional qualification. My background is more of I've got a financial qualification. I'm not an accountant, but I qualified as what was called as corporate treasurer. And the reason why I got interested in real estate was because real estate companies tend to borrow a lot of money, and the most interesting thing you could do as a treasurer, in my view, was go off to banks and borrow money. It was exciting. It was big stuff. So that's why I sort of get into real estate more generally. But I've been with the Howard de Walden estate for the last 14 years now, probably getting on for more like 15 years. And the vast majority of that time I was the finance director, so looked after the money. The most important thing a finance director does is make sure the staff get paid, because the staff don't get paid. It's very hard.
Got mouths to feed, people to house, literally. So.
Exactly, that's the one thing they always say: make sure you pay the staff. So I'd been in that role for about 9 years, and then the opportunity came. The previous CEO took retirement, and they invited me. They asked me if I wanted to become the chief executive, which I wasn't really sure about, because it wasn't really in my career remit to become a chief executive. It's extraordinary that that I would say that, but actually it was in probably my perfect job. It's like that time I was the chief operating officer, so I was responsible for all things not property related in some regard, and the organisation structure. That was the things that I thought I was good at. I'm quite good at the admin side of it. So the opportunity then to become chief executive means that you've got you have to think more broadly about the strategy. So we've always had to say, so the Harley Street Health District has always been here. It's always been in this area, and it predates. This area was a very grand, gentrified residential area before it was ever a healthcare or medical district. So in my opportunities become in the last 5 years, and and I can talk a little bit more of the history of the Harley Street Health District if you want me to before we, but rather than me going straight into what I'm doing now. I
mean, I'd love to hear more kind of on the high level, because obviously you've got, as you say, you've been around for a long time, and obviously someone saw something really valuable in you to ask you to really kind of head this this vision and this project. How are you translating your background and experience into what you see for the district? How do you actually translate that into vision and implement it?
Okay, so I think that when 5 years ago was peak COVID, during that period, and I remember at the time, really there was a lot of questioning. What's the future of the office? What's retail and hospitality was under a lot of pressure. But the thing that really interested me the most during that period was, what's going to be the impact on healthcare? What's going to be the legacy of this? And one of the things at the time, I remember there was lots of property companies in London looking at they were talking about life sciences, largely because they had lots of empty buildings, and they were thinking, gosh, what are we going to do with these buildings that people don't come back to the office? We had a health district, so we were like thinking, well, what's the relevance of life sciences in the post-COVID era to our kind of health district? And one of the things, we did some research and some analysis, and we discovered that there was lots of people, not just the hospitals and clinics that we already knew about in the Harley Street Health District, but we found that there was lots of people in the healthcare support sector, which is natural because we have an ecosystem here. There's an agglomeration of clinics and health providers, and people are choosing to set up in and around here. And then from that, they had a large digital footprint.
Yeah.
So they were organisations that might have been providing cloud technology to the NHS through to medical animation. And it got me thinking that, hold on a minute, this is something that we should be, doing more of. We're in a very prominent area for data science. People were starting to talk about AI then and technology. So, and I'd stumbled on it. I remember saying it was healthcare support with a big digital footprint, which is basically health tech. Yeah. So I'd used a much longer, more words to describe what we now know as health tech. And that's where the evolution of the idea for Hale House came from, because we thought where we are today, is there a way that we can provide a flexible workspace building specifically curated to those who are advancing health technology?
Yeah.
And I see that there's a wider connection. The other idea was, if these businesses are small and fledgling, how can we give them the opportunity to try and get time with the independent healthcare that's on the Harley Street Health District? How can we get them to trial some of their innovation? Because there's not a shortage of innovation, there's a shortage of the adoption of the innovation.
Absolutely.
The regulation of it is complex.
Yeah.
So are there ways in which we can be part of the solution to allow these businesses with great ideas to scale up and do something amazing, which is really solving the problem for disease, helping us live longer and healthier lives, which I think is fundamentally the most important thing anybody can do.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who've been to Hale House and the area, you can see how much innovation and really, really cool big sky thinkers who actually come here and are doing really incredible things. And I think one of the great thing about this space and the vision is the actual layer of that community, like bringing people together. Cross collaboration and trying to really cut through some of those silos and getting people together. So I guess the next question is, because obviously we are focused on doctors and how they can make that leap to and bridge that gap between that clinical commercial innovation. So I mean, obviously there's a rich history of medicine, healthcare, clinics here. Where do you see doctors coming into this mix now and in the future? Okay,
so I mean, look, doctors can, create if they can either largely they work privately or publicly in the National Health Service, and they can be across the country, can't they? They can be anywhere. There's no reason why doctors can't be successful in what they choose to do in any location. All I would say is that there's a network here in a community that probably makes it slightly easier than trying to do that on your own elsewhere. There's already, as you said, there's a rich sort of ecosystem. It's not just the connections that you make through healthcare here, but there's also the connections that you make by having specialist advisors who understand healthcare, lawyers who are specialised in healthcare, recruiters who specialise in healthcare. There's lots more of that in this area than you will find in any other part of the UK, so to speak. The other great thing about the Harley Street Health District isn't dominated by one organisation. It's not like dominated by one person saying, we do everything, we've got everything here. So it tends to be that you may well go along to see a GP who will then recommend you to go and get imaged, somewhere else, or maybe you'll get referred to another consultant who specialises in what condition that they think that you've got an issue with. But also there's collaboration in the sense of we've got people who specialise in mental health in the Harley Street Health District, but someone might specialise in eating disorders. That's not my strength. So they will then refer. So there's a lot of cross-referring through that, which obviously brings benefits, because if it's two-way, then both parties are benefiting from that. So that's one of the things that I think you do benefit from. But also you mentioned it before about this community, this curatorship. We've always done that, but we're now doing that in a bigger way than we've ever done before, and we aim to keep accelerating and amplifying that. So we will help that community. We have forums. We take organised groups to health in Amsterdam. We've just come back from WHX, used to be called Arab Health, but WHX.
Oh, they changed it, yeah.
So, we're always promoting, although we're promoting the Harley Street Health District, within that we're promoting effectively all of the health providers and the clinics within the Harley Street Health District. That's what we want to be preeminent at. So it's this idea of being independent, I think, is hugely important to me. It's not dominated by the NHS. It's not dominated by, if you were in America, you might have a health district that's dominated by a certain health provider in the States. It's not like that. It's basically fundamentally a chain link of small, medium enterprises that all get together. The largest organisation would be HCA, for example. So they would be, but not everybody can do everything within that area, so they're reliant on collaboration and partnership with others. And I think that's what makes it very special and very unique. And attractive to doctors to come into.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for the doctors who are already working in the Harley Street Health District, where would you see as some of the greatest opportunities for them to actually get involved in? So one of the challenges we see is a lot of doctors are clinicians, but they really want to help. You talked about working at an advisory level, at a senior level, to really help shape innovation, practice, regulation. So from all of the people that in the districts, I know you've got quite a rich network, where would you say is number one, this is where doctors can make the biggest difference in what you're looking to achieve at the moment?
Okay, it's hard to say one thing that
what stands out the most.
But I think what the most successful people we see are those who make the biggest effort to expand their network. So they go out, they're talking to others, they're getting themselves out there, they're meeting people, they're finding out what others are doing, they're looking for ways to work with other people. They're looking for synergies. So those would be the people that I would say are the most successful. I think if you just sit back and you say, I'm going to create a clinic on Harley Street and just hope that people will come to me, one, you'll have to have been acknowledged in your own right and be a world leader or very specialist. But I think if you're not, and that probably is the vast majority of doctors, they're all brilliant in their own way, they've all got their super skills, but you've got to sell yourself, you've got to get out there and tell people what it is that you do, talk to them, find out how they can help you. And I think those are the people that I've seen in the area who seem to prosper in their business, and you meet them 6 months later and they tell you they're now dealing with this clinic or that clinic, and they're doing rather well for themselves. So that's what I would say would be the focus, and we help with that. This space here has been amazing for that. In terms of the networking events that you can come to here, the people you get to meet, the sort of unexpected conversations that you have, and hopefully you will have seen some of that in practice in your role. So I would say that they are the standouts. They would be the people that I think are doing well, and just I think because they acknowledge they can't do everything on their own. The people who are arrogant don't do well here. I think if you're just thinking I'm really good at what I do, everybody comes to me, no one works with me, they work for me kind of attitude, that kind of
arrogant, that's quite an old
they're not going to do well, I think, in the Harley Street Health District. But people who've got a very open way to networking, to doing business, maybe you have to give something away to someone else because that's just the way it is, and you hope that something comes back in return. I think if you've got that positive mindset, then you will do well.
No, absolutely. So we've talked about mindset, we talked about visibility and networks.
Yes.
And would you say within the district itself, and also looking forward to, I say the younger generations, but the upcoming generations, where are you seeing the opportunities in particular, like which areas within health innovation? Okay,
so I think where do I see the opportunities? There's definitely been an explosion of interest in advanced screening and kind of integrated diagnostics. And not, I think that's important because people are, I've got to watch what I say, but the younger generation are kind of more obsessed about health than I was when I was younger. They're more obsessed they're more interested. Let's not use the word obsessed. extremely interested in, you know, how health affects them. They want, you know, it's not just about living longer. They want to live very healthy, fulfilling lives, and there's nothing that's absolutely perfect. So I think that the interest in finding out whether there's something wrong with you before it happens is definitely increased exponentially. So I think there is business models that are evolving that will take advantage of that, and of course that goes from you've got NECO or NECO, I never know how you pronounce them, NECO Health, who do this basic screening, through to people who charge tens of thousands of pounds to do very advanced screening. But within that, I think then there's a huge range of other preventative well-being, like people who are expert on nutrition, people who are experts on, you know, the movement of the body. That wouldn't call them orthopedics, but anatomy. You know, there'll be people who want to be, you know, better runners and things. I mean, there's things that people go along to see health specialists for now that they never went along to see. It was they'd only go along to see a health specialist when they were really ill, or they felt they had a disease.
This is about optimising, about longevity. It's about being proactive and having ownership over health.
Exactly. So I think for those who've got professional accreditation and clinical evidence, because there is a danger here that some of this stuff feels a bit snake oil, you know.
There's always that risk, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, people in the past with the leeches, and you know, before the Health.
People still pay for those. They work. You can get them on the NHS. A leech, good old leech.
You could get leeches.
Yeah,
and
wound debridements.
And all of this, you know, stuff that you find out is actually, you know, becomes quite discredited. But there is a lot of, you know, there's a lot of advancement. There's been a huge advancement in terms of, you know, alternative forms of healthcare, which are actually now become mainstream. So I think that Harley Street's already seeing some of that. There's some clinics moving in, and I think that they will do very well. We were always very underrepresented in things like women's health and mental health, and there's been an explosion of clinics interested in providing that service, and that's because, quite fundamentally, you know, we weren't very good as a nation. We've not been very good at dealing with women's health specific issues, but also I think we've not been very good at dealing with mental health. And if I'll be honest with you, a lot of the model of Harley Street has been round about how you access, you know, it's either been self-pay or private medical insurance. Yeah. And private medical insurance has not been easy with mental health conditions. How you access it, what do you get, how long is it supporting you for? So that's probably been something that in the past we haven't been at the forefront of, but I think that's changing. That's changing now. So those are some of the areas. I think it's around that preventative well-being, longevity. I think there's huge opportunities, but it needs to be done with. They need to make their patients comfortable with the methodologies, the practices that they're using, the clinical evidence. I think that's hugely going to be important to them.
Brilliant.
So it's successful.
Brilliant. So let's step back a bit, because Harley Street is a very well-known global brand, and obviously it's been deliberately kind of rebranded as the Harley Street Health District. What does that look like internationally at the moment, and what is the vision aligned with that?
Yeah, I mean, people say it's internationally recognised. I think it is if you work in medicine or health. You know, I think if you were to meet the average Joe in the Midwest of America, they probably wouldn't know much about that.
I guess it depends on where the market is. Yeah, but for example, like you said, you went to WHX in the Middle East recently, and I know that we get a lot of international traffic that come through this area. So what's the vision? Because obviously you've got the Cleveland Clinic. You were talking about that. We were talking about that a few months ago.
So the vision really is we would love to have, you know, what we've been doing over the last 20 years is improving and upgrading the medical provision where we can. So that's important, but that where we can. Because very often people say, you've got that sort of, there's a dodgy cosmetic clinic at number X Harley Street, you know, what do you do? Sometimes it might not be a building we own. Sometimes these buildings come back because the lease expires. So, and we will redevelop them to build first class, medical fit out. Typically, you do a shell fit out, and someone comes along and fits out their clinic. So, what we have been doing, and over that period, is going out to international markets to find out what not just what the patients are looking for, but also looking at world-class health providers. And that's how you've got the Cleveland Clinic here. We've now got Fortius, who part of the Affidea group, who are orthopaedic specialists. They're a larger European own group. So what we're trying to do more of is look where are the leaders in healthcare. And are they interested in coming to London? Are they interested in coming to the UK? Are they interested in coming to London? If they are, what are they going to do in London? Is it just a sort of clinic for drop-in for their kind of international clientele to use if there's a problem when they're in London, or do they want to actually provide meaningful ambulatory acute healthcare provision in London? So that's what we've been trying to do, and that's what's led to, I think, the more specialist hospital groups being in the Harley Street Health District. Of course, the problem we've got is, we can't build, there's not a lot of new buildings. We're refurbishing existing buildings, and it may well be that the scope to look at buildings on the periphery of the Harley Street Health District that we can embrace within and bring into a world-class clinic or a small hospital for an international provider. So they're the sort of things that we've been trying to do, and just to counteract because sometimes you will used to read things in the past that would say that Harley Street was all about cosmetics. Well, I think 7%, you can look at the data the Private Health Information Network shows you that for what they call episodic periods, 7% is cosmetic, and by far and away the largest specialisation that takes place in the Harley Street Health District is chemotherapy and oncology care. Orthopedics is very high. Cardiology and digestive health will be the highest, and ophthalmics. I call them all the aging conditions, the things that you're more.
I did get my eyes done. I'm not that old, but I got them lasered. I got them lasered just before I got pregnant, actually, around the pandemic. So
where did you get them done?
Oh, I can't remember.
It wasn't Harley Street then, was it?
It was Wimpole or one of those streets. Yeah. It was again recommended by some other doctors, but I had a really great experience through that. But I can see.
Good. We've got without a shout out to it, there's a chap here called Professor Stanger, who is taking up occupancy in Queen Anne Street, and actually he is a world leader, and he's doing some amazing stuff in macular degeneration, and he's a really top ophthalmologist. So, and we've got quite a few. You've got Moorfields private patient eye hospital, and Optegra opposite Optegra. So we've kind of got like a real cluster of eye specialisation within the district. But as I said, it's always the ageing conditions that people say. So although you say, what's the future of healthcare? The future of healthcare, health technology, prevention, longevity, all of these things are hugely important. But I think you're going to always find that the classics like, heart, degenerative decline, cognitive decline of our minds, and like I'm just expressing here, struggling for the words. But all of those things, cognitive ability, all of those things that affect aging, I think are always going to be of interest to health providers, because one, you're more likely to be insured. And you're more likely to be able to afford it, and it's important to you, because if you think that you might have 5 or 10 years left of quality of life, then you're going to spend that money to
and it's quite a big market as well, isn't it? So I hear that. Okay. So just finalising, coming back to Hale House.
Yes.
Where we are today.
Well, we've got the sign.
I know, we've got this.
The first time I've done a few podcasts in here, and I've never had the sign. We've always gone about, can we have a sign in Hale House on the podcast couch?
This room is definitely coming along with the aesthetics. I was wondering with the brown. Anyway, but going back to Hale House and the community that's been created here, what would you say are some of the highlights for what is actually happening under this roof, and how that links to your vision for the Harley Street Health District?
So from a selfish perspective, I remember the best highlight, it just opened up, and we asked John Craig, who's the Director of Innovation of UCL Partners, who are kind of like got a floor here, to come down and do a presentation to staff, my staff. So we took the whole team over here and explained, and it was so liberating to hear someone who's involved in health innovation talk about some of the stuff and the work that they were doing and how they're trying to improve outcomes, health inequalities, and at the end of it, it might have sounded a bit cheesy, but I said to the team, look, you don't work just for a property company. You know, you work for an organisation that's changing the face of healthcare.
Yeah.
You know, and so from a perspective, that really energised me. And that was just on the day it's open. But we've already, you know, got organisations within Hale House that are already working, collaborating, whether that's with UCL partners. You know, Tandem Health have moved in here, and Tandem Health are one of the lead organisations, you know, working with the NHS around
medical scribes. ADCs.
So there's lots of stuff going on. So I get excited about it. We've even got a couple of I'm not sure where I forgot this. They're not microbiologists. They're experts in maybe endocrinology or intestinal health. And they've been developing this natural drug that's a counter to GLP-1, you know, called Elcella, which activates your kind of lower bowel to absorb food for longer and makes you not feel hungry. And which I think this is great because it's going to potentially we have people here who are coming up with an alternative to GLP-1, which seems to be phenomenal at the moment, but none of us know what the consequences will be, and most people say you can't stay on it forever. So things like that really excite me, to think that, you know, that some of that activity is taking place in Hale House, and more broadly, when we had John Ray and I and Al Russell from the London Clinic on this sofa doing a podcast, you know, I discovered that HCA do more stage 1 clinical trials than UCLH, the hospital. So, you know, this idea of, you know, I think some people think that public healthcare is great, private healthcare is a good thing. But here you have an example of where you're actually, you know, these early trials for really, you know, really end of, you know, the most complex cancer care imaginable, being done by HCA, which I'm not saying all of them will be successful, but some of them will be, and they'll lead to breakthroughs. That really excites me, to think, at the end of the day, we're only a property company. We provide the stage, and it's those wonderful actors that you know, but that's the way.
It's a show, isn't it?
It's fantastic to think that at least you're creating that platform for genius to thrive, for the brightest minds to be here, and for them to prosper. That really makes it worthwhile getting up in the morning.
No, absolutely. And I've said this before. I'm really impressed by your knowledge of health and medicine. How have you done it? Is it just from all of these conversations with everyone in the ecosystem?
I've done too many podcasts.
Because, you know, you've got a huge amount of knowledge, a wealth of knowledge in that area now. And you're a property person.
Exactly. But, when I'm interested, you know, I think if you're really interested and you're sort of passionate about what you do, then you will pick it up. But, you know, no, seriously, all of my medical knowledge comes from Bill Bryson books. I always tell people I'm very much it's you know, the team that work for me are amazing, because they have to go into all of these meetings. They meet so many different specializations, not just in health, but, you know, they go to office providers, and you've got to understand their business model. You've got to understand what they do, because actually you're making a decision to give them a building for a long period of time. And so I think it makes you understand in business, and I'm really interested in, you know, healthcare. I can't think there's fundamentally nothing more important than someone's health, is there? You know, so why would you to not be interested in that? I think is a strange thing.
Crucial.
So I think it's very easy to be interested in.
Brilliant. And final question for doctors or anyone that's listening to this podcast today. They want to get involved in the Harley Street Health District. They want to get involved in your vision. They want to do more than clinical. What's the first step that you would advise?
The first step, well, sign up to the Harley Street Health District kind of newsletter, detail events, because, you know, we would love, obviously, at the end of the day, we're a landlord and we want people to be here, and, you know, by being here, we get, you know, some rent from them. That would be great. But fundamentally, I think, you know, expressing that, finding out what's going on in the Harley Street Health District, how you can go along to the forums, how you can go along to the events. We've got a great marketing team and comms team. They would be delighted to hear from them. Sometimes we get requests from people to say things like, well, how can you put me in touch with, I've got this great product and I want to be able to be in touch with HCA because they're quite big, or the London Clinic. That's not really our role. But what we do, we will bring people together in a forum, and there will be the opportunity for you to meet people there who may well be able to help get you that crucial meeting that will get your idea across, or you give them the opportunity to do a sales pitch or whatever it is you call it in medicine. Sure,
no, we don't talk about sales or money in medicine.
No, they don't, exactly.
No, not at all. But
it's strange. I do know this because I know somebody who's his wife's a GP, and he said, well, how much did you make last year? Because and she says, well, I don't know, we don't talk about anything like
we don't talk about numbers or money. That's just what we do.
But no, so that's what I would recommend. Just get involved, find out what's going on in the area, and come along to events. If you ever get the opportunity to come along to Hale House, particularly to one of your events, they're fantastic.
I mean, we've got an event tonight as well. So
there we go. It doesn't come any better than that. I bet you've got a full list of people coming along to it?
We're oversubscribed, so this is a curated event, wait list only, and it was full, I think, a few weeks ago.
Oh, fantastic.
So, we've got a wait list. So it's always good when you've got a wait list for an event.
Correct, yeah. So there it shows you the success of not just of your Dr. Urbana, but of Hale House, and getting the right, the right promotion, the right venue, I think works extremely well and keeps and creates a lot of interest, as we can see.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mark.
Thank you for inviting me onto your podcast. It's been very enjoyable. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Dr. Urbana. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you for the next episode.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye. Bye.